and welcome to learning session 1 on the topic skeletons and muscles. Today's learning session will be about understanding the structure and function of our skeletons. Now, before we get started, can you please make sure you have a pen and a paper in front of you and a ruler and another coloured pen, such as a green pen or a pencil, to go through and correct any incorrect answers. Now, can you also make sure you do not have any technology to distract you, and make sure we're in a quiet, calm room where we can focus on the work and get started and get working to the best of our abilities. Okay, so as I mentioned, this learning session is to understand the structure and function of our skeletons. There are 3 questions on the board of retrieval practice. Can you read through the questions and give yourself 3 minutes to have a go at the 3 questions, starting from now. So you should have given yourself 3 minutes to go through that. We're going to go through these now. So question 1, roughly how many bones are there in a human body? So there are actually, in the adult human body, there are 206. So if you got around 200, that is the correct answer. Give yourself a mark for that. Question 2, what is the biggest bone in the human body? That is actually the femur, and that's found in the top part of the leg. And what are the 3 functions of a skeleton? This is what we're going to be doing about today. They're for protection, support and movement. So give yourself a mark for 3 for that on the retrieval practice. Okay, so what we're going to do, the success criteria for this learning session is to describe the structure of our skeleton with a labelling exercise 1, and describe and explain the structure and function of our skeleton, and that's exercise 2 and 3 with example questions. Okay, so your first task, exercise 1, on here we have a diagram of a human skeleton, and we have 13 different names of bones. Can you link the names with the correct bones? So can you draw in a simple diagram of a skeleton and then try and link to where you think each one of these bones are? Give yourself 5 minutes for this, pause the video and have a go. You have 5 minutes, go. Okay, so your time is finished there. You should have had 5 minutes just to draw that in and then label each bone and where you think it goes on the human skeleton. So, can you make sure you've got another green pen or a pencil, different coloured pen, just to go through this and correct any incorrections and give yourself a mark out of 13 for this. So, the tibia, we'll start at the bottom. That is actually just found below the knee leg. It's one of the bones, forward facing one. Fibula is behind that, so below the knee again in our legs. The femur, the longest bone in the body, that is found above the knee in our leg. The pelvis, that's just a hip bone. The radius, that's just one of the arm bones below our elbow. The ulna is the one behind that. Humerus is the arm bone above the elbow. And a clavicle is just a shoulder blade. It's where our shoulder blade will be. The cranium, that's just our skull. The mandible is just a lower jaw. Sternum, that is actually our breastplate, protects our heart. The ribs protects our lungs. And the vertebrae, that's our back, follows a column for our back. Okay, so give yourself a mark out 13 for that in another coloured pen. I'll add in any incorrections now. Okay, so the skeletal system, your skeleton, has 3 different functions for protection, support, and movement. So the skeleton protects our important internal organs. The skull protects the brain, and the pelvis protects the reproductive organs. Ribs protect the lungs and the heart as well. For support, this is the main function of the skeleton. The main function to support our bodies. Without a skeleton, what do you think it will look like? Have a think. That will be a future question. And movement. The skeleton helps our bodies to move by a system of joints and by providing a base for muscles to attach to. More on that in the next learning session. Okay, so we've briefly overviewed the 3 forms of 3 functions of a skeleton. For exercise 2, you'll need to draw in this table. For question 1, you'll need to draw in this table and complete the table by stating which part of the skeleton protects which internal organ. So the internal organs here what bones or part of the skeletal system are they protected by? And then for question 2, what are the 2 other functions of the skeleton apart from protection? So there's protection already. What are the 2 other functions? Give yourself 3 minutes again to draw in a table, complete the table, and then answer the second question as well. You have 3 minutes. Go. Okay, your time is finished there. You've had 3 minutes. Can you pick up a green pen or another good pen or pencil? And we'll go through this now. So, the internal organs, heart, brain, lungs, spinal cord, and reproductive organs are all protected by a specific bone or set of bones within our skeleton. So, for the heart, it's protected by our rib cage, or if you put sternum, that'll be fine as well. The brain is protected by the skull or the cranium. The lungs are protected by the rib cage as well. Spinal cord is protected by the spine or the vertebrae as well. And reproductive organs are protected by the pelvis, which is your hip bone. Okay, for question 2, what are the 2 other functions of the skeleton apart from protection? It is support and movement. So support is the main function of the skeleton to keep you upright, keep you on your 2 feet, and movement to help you move about and move. Okay, so give yourself a mark out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Out of 7 now. Excellent. You've got 7, 6, fantastic as well. 5, well done. Okay, now there is another function of the skeleton. Have a look at this diagram. Pause the video for 20 seconds, just 20 seconds, and have a think what that might be. Okay, 20 seconds is up. Hope you had a good think about what the 4th function of the skeleton is. Now the diagram is on here to give you a hint, and hopefully you noticed in particular the white blood cells, red blood cells, and fewer platelets as well. So another function of the skeleton, your bones, is to produce white and red blood cells. So bone marrow, which is a hollow surface within our bones, encased within our bones, and that produces white and red blood cells. Now, red blood cells, obviously, they carry oxygen and carbon dioxide around the body to every cell, and that's where the oxygen goes into every cell and carbon dioxide is taken out. That is for respiration, obviously, to allow us to produce energy. And white blood cells, these fight infections by viruses or bacteria, so they prevent us from getting ill. So that's another function of our skeleton, the 4th one, to produce white and red blood cells within the bones. This often occurs in the femur, the leg bones, mostly. Okay, so this is going to be the final task, guys. The final task, exercise 3. There's 2 questions on here. What would we look like if we did not have a skeleton? So I asked you to think about it earlier. You're going to answer that question, and then what problems would we have if we did not have a skeleton? So this is to recap all we've done in learning session today. Give yourself 5 minutes for this, 5 minutes to answer these 2 questions. Answer them in full sentences, and you have 5 minutes. Pause the video, go. Now, your time is finished there. You've had 5 minutes. We're going to go through this in another coloured pen or a pencil if you don't have one. We'll go through this and answer any incorrections we don't have, or tick off the correct answers we do. So, the first question, as mentioned, what would we look like if we did not have a skeleton? So, we would have a saggy shape, we'd be on the floor, and we generally have no structure at all. So there'd be no definitive shape or body type. We'd just kind of be like a blob on the ground. We wouldn't have that support mechanism. We wouldn't have that shape. So give yourself 1 mark for that, just 1 mark, if you mention something along those lines of no definitive shape or body type. What problems would we have? What problems would we have if we did not have a skeleton? Now this is multiple, so give yourself as many marks as you've put down. So the first one, organs could be easily damaged or moved out of place. So because there's no protection there for the organs, they'll be damaged. And also because there's not that stability, that support for it, They can be moved all over the place, which is not good. That can damage them. The second point, would not be able to move at all or away from danger. So there is no ability to move, and that would be dangerous. Third bullet point, not be able to stand or support ourselves on our own 2 feet. So we'd just be on the floor, wouldn't be as linked to the one above that, we'd not be able to move. Because cannot produce white blood cells, we'd be ill all the time. With no white blood cells, we'd be open to infectious diseases from pathogens that could invade our bodies. If there's no white blood cells, we cannot fight them. And then the final point, the fifth point, we would not be able to respire with no red blood cell production. So if no red blood cells, we cannot carry oxygen to all of our cells. We cannot get energy, and we cannot be able to do the things we like to do. So those are the 5 key points. So I'm sure you had more yourself. So can you give yourself a mark out of 1 for the first question? And can we say a mark out of 3 for 3 bullet points for that one? So that'll be a mark out of 4. That has finished the learning session for today on the structure and function of skeletons. I hope it's made a bit more sense about why we have skeletons and why they're so beneficial for our everyday lives. Thank you.